I'm a believer in not being hypocritical. You guys tell your students show up on time, otherwise there's penalties to pay. And you guys showed up on time, so we're going to get started because you all did what you're supposed to do. Today, we're going to talk about that four-letter word that your mama never told you stop using. She told you about those other things, right? Those F words, right? Yeah, don't use those, right? Yeah, those F words, like food and fast, right? She told, what F word were you thinking? That four-letter word that she never told you to stop using is debt. Mama should have taught us about debt. But because mama perhaps didn't know about debt, because quite often, like my mother, she was also in debt, I'm here today to try to give you a different perspective about debt. So, before we get into it, hey, Celeste, any questions? Any answers? Let's get going. So, folks, number one that we want to get about debt is education. Education doesn't mean that you lack smarts. Education just means that you may not know. Ignorance does not mean that you lack intelligence. It just means a lack of knowledge. Someone once said this a while ago, and I happen to copy it because it's true. It says that we are all born ignorant and poor. And you might say, that's not true. Look at Elon Musk's kids. They're born rich. Oh, no, they're not. They're born just as poor as you and I. And they have to wait while somebody keeps their riches intact for them until they're able to receive it for themselves. But if you took Elon Musk's kid and put him somewhere in the middle of the ocean, he will be just as destitute as the rest of us. We're all born ignorant, meaning that we know very little, if anything at all, and we're born poor, owning nothing, having nothing. And we educate ourselves into knowledge, and we operate ourselves into wealth. I'm going to say that again. We educate ourselves into knowledge, and then we operate ourselves into wealth. So with that, I want you to look at the very most crucial ingredient for getting us to that goal of wealth, and that's discipline. Discipline is going to get you to your goals, folks. But the secret ingredient in discipline is the ability to have accountability, to stop making those excuses, to stop coming up with, well, I shoulda, I woulda, I coulda. And you need accountability. In fact, if discipline is the entree of the meal ticket to prosperity, then accountability is the secret sauce. If you don't have that accountability within yourself, then you got to look outside yourself for that person or for that thing that drives that, yes, I got to get up and do. Accountability is what makes discipline effective. Now, many of us, we find ourselves in this particular place that gets us into debt. So I want, again, to start off, we need education and we need discipline in order to get things started. And one of the reasons why we need that is because we found ourselves too much doing this. Have you ever done this? Or you ever see a dog chase its tail? Did it ever catch it? Yeah, that's like us chasing our shadow. We will never, ever catch that. And that's what we do when we start chasing after the Jones. When we were coming up, that is. But now for these millennials, it's keeping up with the, you got it. How did you know?
I don't watch the show.
How did you know? It's keeping up with the Kardashians. And that will get you into trouble all the time, every time. I want to do a little biology lesson. Any biology teachers here? So then don't correct me if I'm wrong. Just make it like if I know what I'm talking about. See, what we see here is respiration. And what you have is the body is trying to bring oxygen into our body. And by doing so, we take oxygen in, it goes into the capillaries, and from the capillaries gets into our bloodstream. And in our bloodstream is where we have oxygen that's taken in and carbon dioxide that's actually exhaled out. And then once that carbon dioxide is exhaled out, it collects in the lungs and it goes up and out through the mouth and the nose. And folks, we call that respiratory. Yeah, breathing. Breathing. I want to do a little cutaway. And the cutaway is of that blood vessel where you see the oxygen coming in and the carbon dioxide going out. So, what do you think happens if you have too much of a buildup of carbon dioxide? What do you think happens? I'll tell you what happens. At a minimum, you get an increased breathing rate. You get an increased breathing volume. You get an increase in blood pressure, and you get an increased heart rate. That's what happens. I mean, you guys have tried this, right? When you were kids, everybody hold your breath, and then after what, right? Starts going, and then actually you find yourself, that's because you got too much carbon dioxide in there and you're trying to get it out. This is an excess buildup of carbon dioxide, the most critical of which leads to brain deterioration and eventually death. When your brain is starved of oxygen, I don't care how good your heart is, your brain will die. And then you're dead. Your heart might be pumping, boom, 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 but you're a vegetable. And that's from too much carbon dioxide. There's something else in our lives that acts like carbon dioxide to the body. When that thing actually happens, we get the exact same effect on the body, which is we get an increased breathing rate, we get an increased blood volume, breathing volume, blood pressure, as well as heart rate. And you know what that thing is? It's debt. Think about the last time that you were deep in debt and the debt man is calling, the repo man is calling. Is he coming for me? Is my car going to be in the driveway? Your blood pressure goes way, way up. You begin to start doing all of this, right? Trying to figure out, wow, am I going to make it? This is what debt, seriously, the physical effects of debt on the body mimics the physical effects of carbon dioxide on the body. Debt is like carbon dioxide, but to your finances. It's starving the energy, the oxygen out of your finances. It's taking away from your savings. It's cutting into your future. Debt it's choking the living daylights out of your money. Debt also shows a lack of contentment. Why? Because we buy what we want and then get this, we go begging for what we need. Think about how crazy that is. We buy what we want and then we go begging for what we need. Debt is also a form of bondage. You guys have seen this verse numerous times, if you haven't heard it already, right? The borrower is a slave to the lender. Yeah, it comes from the Bible. That's where it comes from. And then debt also is presumptuous. We say something about the future that we really don't know. We're just like that Popeye character. You guys did watch Popeye, right? Yes. You remember that guy, right? If you give me a hamburger today, I will gladly pay you. Did Tuesday ever come? Yeah. Debt presumes on the future. You have some knowledge that none of us knows, and that is you will be around in the future, number one, and that you will actually have that resource that you say you're going to have in that future. Debt is presumptuous on the future, and it also destroys and compromises our moral character. We tell someone that we're going to do something, and then we end up not doing it. Now, you guys can find yourselves on this chart. I'm not going to call out anybody. But this is about from 2021, I believe. Yeah, 2021. So not that long ago. And it shows the amount of debt and the amount of net assets. And you find that the Gen Zs, are there any in the room? There's one. Yes. Oh, yeah, I'm thinking. I got one Gen Z. Happen to be. Oh, two, yeah. So you guys might be like, we got it made. We're on the ball. We have like no debt. That's because you don't own anything. You haven't lived for anything yet. That's why you have the least amount of debt. But then you start going up, and folks, look at that. The debt begins to ratchet up more and more and more. And then the smartest people out there seems to be our parents, and for you millennials, your grandparents, who lived through the Great Depression and lived through World War II. And they know what it's like to struggle and to be in debt. And therefore, they decide that's not for me. I also want you to check out this chart from 2 years ago. $17 trillion in debt. Did I talk to you guys about how much a trillion is? Right? Like if you got like $1 billion every year from the time Christ was on this earth until now, you still would not have you still won't have 17 trillion in money. Think about that. $1 billion every year, and you still won't have 17 trillion. That's a lot of jack. But that's us. We're in debt. Number one, first, the highest classification of debt is which? No. Yes, mortgages. Yes, mortgages. It's typically the biggest purchase that any of us would make, right? What's number two? Believe it or not, it was number two up until this quarter in 2023. It was education, but it's actually autos. They go back and forth because you'll see 1.58 is autos, 1.57 is education.
Wow.
Yeah. And then lastly is the plastic stuff. Credit cards. Yes, credit cards at $1 trillion. Don't we all expect kids to go and get student loans to get through school? When I first heard that, I'm like, he is absolutely right. I graduated with $15,500 in student loan debt. And I can tell you with a certainty, I did not need all that money. One year, I purposely went and took out another student loan just so that my mother, I can get the refund and I can give the money to my mother. That's it. I did not need it. But because it was there, it was cheap, I took it out. And then, guys, really, 15,500, that to me was a lot of money back then, but it's not a lot of money. It still took me 14 years to pay that thing off. That's what debt does. It tricks you into thinking all is good, all is well. Until something like 2020 happens, or something like 2009 happens. And then you realize all is not good, all is not well. Would it not be to our children's advantage if we teach them the lesson that was taught here? Go to school, study hard, work. Do not take out debt and get out as quickly as you can. Would it not be to their advantage? You guys are the educators. So this is a lesson that y'all can put into play like right away. So now that we've talked about that, how about we get out of it? How about we get rid of it? First is make that decision. I am no longer going to live on debt. Some of you weren't here last time, but I told the story of where June and I, it's really me, but June and I, because hey, she's married to me, right? $600,000 plus. I stopped counting after that in debt. And the way we got out is because we started here. We actually made the decision. We're no longer going to live on debt. And we got tested. We got tested. My car went down. And I went to my brother. I mean, I could have gone to the bank easily. I went to my brother and I said, I need $2,000. I don't want to borrow. I need $2,000 to get a car. He gave me the $2,000. I put it with my $1,000. I got a $3,000 car. Made the decision, no more debt. You got to start there. No more. And by 2017, we'd paid off the entire thing. Everything gone. And as I said before, I'll say once more, I did not play lotto. Well, maybe I did, but I didn't win lotto. I didn't win lotto in order to pay it off. Next thing is seek help. If you do not have the tools to actually work your way out of debt, seek help. Give us a call at our office. One of the debt counseling programs, they're all legit. Seek help. And then, of course, you want to discontinue all credit purchases. Get rid even of the debit card if you have to. Even though debit is not credit, it allows you to buy with cash that you don't see. Right? If you actually had that $10 in your hand, you couldn't buy that thing for $10.01. Because all you got is $10. And then lastly, get some kind of debt reduction or debt elimination program. Well, folks, let's look at some of the wrong ways to get out of debt. Debt handling. Number one on the list is debt stealing. You guys know debt stealing, but you know it by another name. Debt stealing is where you rob Peter to pay Paul. And then I've got to ask the question, isn't robbing Peter to pay Paul like using MasterCard to pay Visa? Mm-hmm. And then after you get past debt stealing, you have debt hits. Putting on the hits. And you know what the hits are, right? That's right, it's the head in the sand. The debt does not exist. You just pretend it's not there and you go on about your business. And after the debt comes and smacks you on the behind to let you know, get your head out of the sand, you have the debt runs. Runs. That is where you are trying to run away from your debt. I can't hide from it and I can't rob and steal. So I'm just going to try to run. And you know people like this, right? These are people who change their addresses frequently, or people who change their phone numbers. There's some people, seems like truly every other month, they got a new phone number, running from the debt man. And then change jobs. I actually have a relative that does this, and it's one of the most heinous ways, trying to get out of child support, changing jobs so that the law does not catch up. But this is what it looks like when you try to run from your debts. Bad way to handle debts. And then of course, all the sports guys and gals in here, you got hits, runs, and stealing. What's next? But we're at the end of the inning and there are no hits, no runs, and no errors. No errors. That's right. Now you've got errors. What are debt errors? That's where somebody actually calls you up and you're like, sorry, wrong number. You got the wrong number. Sorry. Or worse yet, they send the mail and you like, return to sender. You got the wrong address. They tried calling, they tried sending you a letter, and now they show up at your doorstep. What else are you going to do? It's not me. You got the wrong guy. No, it looks like me. Sounds like it's not me. Errors. You made an error. You got the wrong bro. And by doing so, they dig further and further into debt. Folks, there is no way, none possible, that you can dig your way out of a hole. It is not possible. You could dig your way to China, but you're not going to get up out of that hole. The only way to get up out of a hole is to climb out, not to dig down. And that's what we're here to talk to you about. We're here to talk to you about getting rid of debt the right way. So the first one is the debt snowball. Some of you may have heard of this. Debt snowball is where you arrange your credit based upon the balance. See that? 100, 200, 500. And then you make the payments so that over time it's paid off. You take the payment of the first paid off debt and you add it to the second debt. Combine them, that's $50, and you pay the second debt off. And then you take the first two, 25, 25 plus 50, that's 100. And then you pay the third one off. That's the debt snowball method, right? And that's a hypothetical of how quickly you'll actually have that debt paid off. So that's debt snowball. Next on the list is debt avalanche. So debt avalanche, instead of organizing your debts by the payment, you organize your debts by the interest rate, starting with the higher interest rate first. And this has been shown to pay off your debt faster than all the other strategies out there, is the debt avalanche. By itself, if you use other things with it, you can still pay it off quicker. But by itself in its plain vanilla form, debt avalanche does it. So if you look at what was done with the debt snowball in 8 months, 6 months, and 5 months, sorry, that's what you do in debt avalanche, as opposed to debt snowball, where you had 9 months, 8 months, and 6 months. You do pay it off faster with the debt avalanche. And then you have the debt tsunami. And this is where You organize the debts based on who do you love? Who do you love? If mom is on the list, she floats to the top, right? And if your little brother is on the list, he's at the bottom. He gets paid last. You organize the debts based on who do you love because it has an emotional attachment and drives the accountability for you paying things off. Then there's debt snowflake, and it's really more of a combination. Debt snowflake essentially is if you have found money, and some people do this. I don't understand why, but you take that pants out of the wash and you find $20. Wow, I found money. I found $20. No, you didn't. You lost track of $20 is what you did. But if that did happen, debt snowflake works because you would take that and add it to whatever it is that you are using to pay down, whether it's the debt snowball or the debt avalanche or the tsunami. You just take, could be a bonus, could be birthday money. Take that additional injection and you add it to whatever strategy that you're employing. And then the last is the one that I'm going to spend time on, and that's debt dominoes. What is debt dominoes? And for all of you English teachers out there, please don't tell me you spelled it wrong. Dominoes doesn't have an E. Well, that's a marketing name, all right? So leave my E alone. Domino effect is a chain reaction whose cumulative effect produces when one event sets off a chain of similar events. So, for instance, you might decide, a bachelor, stuff all over the place, I'm going to pick my socks up off the ground. And after you notice that the ground is clean, you decide, I'm going to take those clothes from just laying on the bed. And then after you recognize the ground and the bed is clean, you say, I'm actually going to wash those clothes in the hamper. So one thing, picking up the sock off the ground, led to the bed being clean, led to the hamper being emptied, led to the room being clean. That's a domino effect. One thing set off a chain of events that leads to an outcome. And folks, it works both ways because you could be in a financial literacy seminar and you decide, I'm going to check my calendar. And because you checked your calendar, you realize that you've got to be somewhere at 5:30. And so you begin to pack up your books and your bags and everything, and you decide that I am not going to stick around for the final 20 minutes of this thing. And before you know it, you're off to whatever this thing is, and you miss the entire presentation. It goes both ways. One event setting off a chain that continues on. And it's also a phenomenon which is at its initial event causes a series of other related events to occur. That's what the domino effect is. And that's why I like debt dominoes over all the others, because once you start paying off one debt, I promise you, I've done this with several couples, it gets freaky. People just start finding ways to pay off debt. They get happy about it because they're seeing debt getting destroyed. Just like those dominoes, one hitting the next and the next and the next. And it's pretty when we see all of those things fall down. We'll have an illustration of that. Because remember, if discipline is the entree of the meal ticket to prosperity, then accountability is the secret sauce. We want to have something that drives the discipline, and that's accountability. And that's what you get with debt dominoes. You get all of the elements of the other strategies, but now you have accountability injected. If you can't find it within yourself, you have to find it somewhere else. Typically, it's in someone, two things, got to have these two things, someone that you respect. None of you are going to listen to your younger sibling. It just doesn't happen. They tell you, big sis, do this, do that. Yeah, come on, you're a little girl. Big bro, this is what you should do. Well, I see we have a relationship in here, so let me leave that alone.
Older siblings, much older siblings, don't listen to their younger siblings for
any reason.
I didn't know that makes sense to me.
Now it does, right? Someone that you respect and someone that you'd hate to disappoint. They have to have those two at a minimum. If you ever look at Alcoholics Anonymous, That's what actually gives teeth to the program. They respect their accountability partner and they don't want to let them down. Same exact thing with this. If you set a goal for paying off debt and your accountability partner now is there, and all accountability doesn't mean beat them up. It means a duty to explain. Many of us don't like having to explain ourselves, and that's why accountability is good, because we do the thing so that we don't have to. What happened was, we don't want to do that. So, with accountability in the mix, let's run through an example of how the debt dominoes work. So we have a balance of 100, 200, and 500. Minimum payment, you see 25, 25, and 50. So after the first month, what do we see? With the first one, 100 minus 25 is? And then with credit number 2, same thing, 200 minus 25 is? And number 3, same thing. And you see the math in the parentheses, right? Everyone can see that? All right, so month number 2, what do? Same exact thing. Month number 3, same exact thing. And by April, look at what happens. Credit number 1 is paid off. And then we have $100 left on credit number 2, and credit number 3 is $300. Now let's look at what happens in May. Being that credit number 1 is paid off, how is it that credit number 2 went from 100 down to 50? Well, that's because that's right. We took the 25 from that paid off debt that's bouncing around there, and we added it to the 25 of credit 2 to get us 50. 100 minus 50 is 50. And so by June, number 2 is paid off, and the same thing in July. That 25 that you see there is that 25. So now by August, everything is paid off. That's how it works. Driving one to the next to the next. Each month, like a domino, that debt is being felled. It is falling down. It is chopped down. It is going away. And the thing with debt dominoes is it doesn't matter whether you arrange it by interest rate, whether you arrange it by monthly payment, whether you arrange it by who you love. It does not matter. The thing that matters is that you are working to systematically now to pay off your debt. And it's sort of like this thing here. See how nicely those dominoes are lined up? And just by that one ball starting off the chain, one after the next, the debt is falling down. So that as you progress along, you have things like your auto loan down, your mortgage, down, your credit card down, your student loans down, one after the other. Each debt falls down until every debt is paid. It's debt dominoes. So now what? Now that you know you don't keep up with the Kardashians, that you get a plan, make a decision, you work toward reducing and eliminating debt. Now that I've gotten the fact that debt borrows from the future, it maligns my character, that it puts me in bondage. Now that I have all of that information, now what? I see paying things off can be good. Well, how about we change your attitude? Imagine you were this guy, but you acted like that guy. Now imagine that you're that guy, but you really got on like this guy. Do you know who this guy is? It's my most favorite animal on the planet. Honey badger. Honey badger is the most fearless animal ever. It does not back down. It's got mad attitude, had numerous setbacks, but he had a goal, and he is not letting anything deter him from getting to his goal. Have an attitude that says no more debt. And then you pursue it like a honey badger. Change your attitude. You're not the Joneses or the Kardashians, unless, of course, your name is Jones. But you're not that Jones, right? All right. Be content. I have what I have. By God's grace, I will get more, but not by going into debt. Educate against ignorance, militate against lack of discipline. Educate against ignorance. I'm giving you a small set, guys. We're only here for an hour, plus whatever questions. But there are books, there are YouTube videos, there are other free seminars. You can gain education for your own particular situation. And most all of you do have my business card. Call me up. It costs nothing to talk to me. Zero.
So I don't have to pay?
Well, I'll get another from the. Well, talk to my agent. So I think I do. It costs nothing for us to talk. So please call me up and let's see if we can get through how you can get beyond this debt thing. This is not my actual cards, but it's a good substitute. And then, of course, debt is to your finances what carbon dioxide is to your body, with one exception. You need carbon dioxide in order to breathe. You take in oxygen, you let out carbon dioxide. You got to have it. You don't need debt for anything. Nothing. Zero. Let no one ever tell you you need debt for. No, you don't. Well, Lyndon, how am I going to buy that $300,000 house? Surely I need debt for that. No, you don't. We have a lack of contentment and we have a lack of discipline. And what do I mean by that? I said it to you, to the group the first week. If you look at many of the immigrants, especially from the Middle East and the Far East, they come here and they stack families. They've got 3, 4, sometimes maybe even 5 generations all in one abode. And they collect the resources until someone is able to move out. I ain't living with that knucklehead no more. I got to get my own place. I need my own pad. I got to have my own crib. And of course, when you get your own crib, you got to hook it up with the right carpeting and the right furniture, the right sound equipment, the right, all of that. And you get more and more into debt because you couldn't be content to just sweat it out for another 2, 3 years at home. That's what immigrants do. But what we could do, if that's not palatable, because truly families, sometimes they just can't get along that way. But what you could do is you can stack your own dollars. That $300,000 home, instead of me getting it today, how about I buy that truly, that $20,000 home? Fix that sucker up. Sell it for 70. Buy a $70,000 home. Fix that sucker up. Sell it for 150. Buy a $150,000 home. Just keep doing the process. And now, in 3 or 5 years, I've got that $300,000 home. It took me a little bit longer, but I got it with no debt, with zero debt. And for many of us, that's just too foreign. I need it now. I've got to have it now. No, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, think about all those boyfriends and girlfriends that you thought you had to have. Now you're like, what was I thinking? Some of you are saying, I'm still wondering that. Same mindset. It doesn't have, use some discipline, show some contentment. You can get that home, that car, whatever it is, with zero debt. Keep in mind, I'm talking personal debt here. If you want to expand your business by taking on debt, I am not going to dissuade you. Because if the business fails, all they're going to take are your tools or your work truck or whatever it might be. And hopefully your work truck is not your only truck. That's secured by something that you don't necessarily need to keep yourself or your family afloat. I have a problem with that. But when you are putting your family at risk through debt, I have a problem with that. You should not be putting your family, you should not be putting your loved ones at risk through debt. If you want to go serve in the military and put them at risk that way, hey, you're doing something honorable, something noble. Serve on the security forces or whatever, sure. And in increasing number of cases, being a teacher even, sure. But not through debt, folks. Don't do it that way. There's no good reason for that because you can buy what you want and what you need. You can do both. Debt to your finances is like CO2 to your body, except you don't need debt for anything. You can stop with the credit card purchases, stop presuming on the future, stop maligning your moral character, say no to all of these things, and instead make a decision. Get help, discontinue all those purchases, and then use a system to get you out of debt. Folks, that's all I got. What questions do you have? So that's like a bittersweet question because by raising your credit score means that you are, you're in debt. A credit score only means that you've owed somebody something at some time. And in order for me to raise my score, that means I've got to owe somebody some more things at some other point in time. But given that you asked a legitimate question, I'm going to give you a legitimate answer. The fastest way really is to get one of those cards that's tied to your bank account so that you can never exceed. Therefore, once you actually purchase, it will indeed give a positive impact on your score, but it doesn't sink you into a hole because the money's already secured. And if that's not available to you, then with whatever credit card you do have, if you have, I mean, truly, you have the cash, use that credit, and the same day, not tomorrow, you send that payment out. I don't care if you got to do that 7 times in a day. You send the payment out the very day that you make that purchase. Those are quick ways. But paying somebody to raise your credit score, dubious at best. Some of them are scams, some of them are legit, but I would not recommend going that route. Yes.
So how does debt and credit score, like how do they correlate exactly? Like if I have my debt, like will my score go up or do I need to hire more debt?
So the number one contributor to your credit score is paying your debt on time. The second thing is the amount of debt that you have outstanding. So if you have, for instance, a credit line of 10,000 and you have 9,000 outstanding, that's actually a drag on your credit score because it says that you are finding a need to go more and more into debt. So if you can keep your utilization, that is the amount of credit that you're using in relation to the amount of credit that you have available at 30%. So if it's 10,000 that you have as a limit, the most that you want to use is, come on, teachers, 30%, 30%, 10,000 is the limit.
7,000?
That's 3,000, right? 3,000. So you don't want to use more than 3,000. And that actually has a good impact on your credit score. What else you got?
If I can add a few things, because again, I brought Lyndon in. Lyndon started working with me years ago, and I had to make a decision. And it was not a decision I wanted to make. You know, Amber, my oldest daughter, shamed me into making a decision. And I made a decision. But I had to seek help. I didn't, I thought I knew about finances and all that, but I didn't. I went to Lyndon and he started working with me with these things, and I did not like what he was putting down at all. And the accountability, especially having somebody tell me what to do with my money. And he's telling me this is what I want you to do in savings. And I was like, first year he told me we're gonna save $20,000. I was like, if I save 5,000, we doing something. Like, how am I gonna save 20? I don't have 20,000 to save. And he's like, well, let's look at your bill.
Mm-hmm.
and to actually show him my bills and have him look at me like, do you know that
You're spending on this
$12,000 of fast food?
fast food,
You know,
Starbucks,
and
and
you're spending this. When we found the money, I was wasting so much money, and then you have to do things differently. And I started doing it. I did not like it when I tried to go away from it. And accountability, when he's calling me up like, hey, why are you trying to make this purchase? And I'm like, and he would be on. Have you taken this money and are you, because we did the domino effect. But once I paid off that one,
that's it.
That's it. When Lyndon and I were together, well, we're still together. When he started
I didn't tell you I fired you already.
Oh, I had what, 14 credit cards maxed out. You know, 14 credit cards, man. And I'm like, what do I have for this? And in my mind, it's like, there's no way I'm going to pay all this off. So I just paid the minimum. And we started working the method. And the 14 went down to, 12, which went down to 8, and which went down to, I still have a bunch of credit cards. But every month I have a zero balance because of the method. And once you get into the habit of, okay, I use my credit card, I use it like a debit card. Every month I pay it off in full. I'm not trying to pay any money on my credit card. So these things work. It's difficult.
Yes.
It's different. And accountability, find somebody that you trust that is going to hold you accountable. And when I said, you know what, let me do things differently, I never thought that I'd be in a position to own my own house, let alone 2 houses debt-free. Because of the methodology that he brought to the table, I'm trying to buy my third house. These things work. This is why it's important, because I've always been a hard worker, but I never knew about, anything other than you save enough money so that when the crisis hits, say $5,000 and I have a crisis, I spend 3 and I have 2 and I got to build it up to 5 again. And then I have another crisis and then I'm down to 2 again. We've been there. If you want to do things differently, and I wanted him to wave the magic wand, show me how to get the perfect stock. And with the perfect stock, I was going to make, $1 million. It doesn't work like that. But once you have a method of paying off your debt, then you can take that money that you were paying on all these credit cards and you
give it to yourself.
Towards your paying yourself or your portfolio. When I got my pay increase, Lyndon told me, first pay, reward yourself.
Blow it.
And for 6 months, live like you've been living. And I was like, oh, heck no. I got a pay increase. I'm about to do this. And the accountability. That was years ago. I still live off of 50% of my salary. And the rest of it, I take it and I put it into assets that are going to grow. It works. I'm telling you, people, it works. That's why we're bringing him in here, so that you have to change your mindset. And I'm an example, because I'm just like you.
So am I. I wasn't born with this stuff. I had to grow into this. As I mentioned at the beginning, 600 grand in debt, and had a wife, had 2 kids, and my income was dropped by over 70%. I had to make that decision too. So yeah, no one look at me as if, oh, dude was born with the silver spoon, he was born on third base. No, I wasn't. Just like the rest of y'all, I had to make my way around the bases. When I get home, I'm not there yet, but when I get home, I hope that my children, and God willing, any grandchildren from there, can actually learn from me hustling around those bases in order to get home. And the same for you. I'm hoping the exact same for you. Every generation should do better than the previous. One of the things that plagues us is this thing here. We get into debt over and over and over again over stuff that's going down in value or it's totally consumed. What sense does that make? What else you got? Going once. Going twice. Sold to the man in the cream turtleneck. Guys, we will do this again next week, God's will, and we will start. There's two more, one on saving and then one on investing. Saving and then investing. All right?